Good job, UCLA. They took care of business against Wisconsin, setting up a delicious winner-take-all regular season conference title matchup with crosstown rival USC. In this video, we are going to take a look at what is at stake in this matchup, as it is huge. People will tell you, oh, it's regular season, doesn't really matter, but I think it matters a lot, especially for UCLA. In addition, we'll take a look at the matchups. This will be a fun matchup. These teams are very close when you look at the numbers. Before we start, if you enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. All right, let's get into this. So as I mentioned, this game is for all the marbles in terms of the Big Ten regular season title, as UCLA is 16-1 and USC is 16-1. USC's loss was to Iowa. UCLA obviously lost a few weeks ago, or about a week ago, to USC at USC's home court. And now this is the grudge rematch, if you like. As I mentioned, I think this game is more important for UCLA, as last season they did not finish strong. It felt like they almost peaked after beating UConn and Ohio State early in the season. Then after losing to Utah, Lauren Betts left the team and they never recovered after that. And after going through the majority of the season undefeated, you don't want to pick up your first losses in February and March. Because as much as Gino Auriemma and UConn is celebrated for always coming together around tournament time and making a run to the Final Four, the same could be said the other way in terms of UCLA, as they have never been able to put it together and get past the Elite Eight in the Corey Close era. And if they don't get it done in this game versus USC, the same questions, whether fair or not, are going to be asked again. And it's really a tough spot for UCLA, as USC matches up so well against them with their big guards, as well with Marshall and Ari Effen. They're one of the few teams that have the size to match with Betts, Dugliich, Gardner, and Barker, as normally UCLA just overwhelms teams with their size and just crushes them on the boards, able to get offensive rebounds and second shots, but that's not going to happen so easy versus USC, which makes it interesting and more turns it into a battle of the backcourt. In their last matchup, I was surprised that Close didn't try to trap Juju more and get the ball out of her hands, as it seemed more like she was just trying different players on her. First it was Jaquez, then they tried Barker on her, and then they settled for London Jones. And the strategy seemed to be, Jones, stay in her pocket. If she gets by, we'll have a wall behind us with our bigs, making it hard for her to make shots. And Juju got hot, and they just could not slow her down. I think in this upcoming game, it's at UCLA. I think the refs are going to play a big part in it, because I think UCLA is going to go back to being really physical. Like when they played them in 2023-24, that was Charisma Osborne was just blowing up all the dribble handoff picks, with a lot of holding and grabbing taking place off the ball. And that worked in their first game, but then in the rematch, Juju lived at the line, and it makes a difference. When Juju is able to get to the line, it allows USC to set up their defense and just makes them that much harder to beat. If USC wins the free throw battle, then they're likely to win this game, or they have a damn good chance of it. If we look at the four-factor stats for Big Ten conference play, if you look at the numbers for USC and UCLA, it is striking how close these teams are. UCLA is a slightly better offensive rebounding team, as they get 37% of their offensive rebounds, and compared to USC at 33%. But the other one that sticks out is the free throw attempt rate, where USC, 34% of their possessions end in a free throw versus UCLA, which is 27%. The other number that sticks out a little bit is the defensive rating. So per 100 possessions, USC only gives up 83.6 points, which is 92 percentile, versus UCLA that gives up 88.9, which is 76 percentile. The opponent's efficient field goal shooting percentage is about the same for both teams, with Southern Cal at 40% opponents are shooting against them, UCLA 41%. Possessions ending in an offensive rebound by the opponent, Southern Cal's a little bit better, giving up only 27% of the possessions end in an offensive rebound versus UCLA 28%, but very close. Turnovers is the big one. So UCLA doesn't cause as many turnovers. It's 17% of the possessions ending in a turnover versus USC that 20% of their opponent's possessions end in turnover. The other one is free throw rate. USC fouls a bit more. 28% of their opponent's possessions end in a free throw attempt versus UCLA. That is 25%. So overall, these numbers are incredibly close, and it could go either way. I really think I expect UCLA to be favored, but I would suspect to be like -2 or -3 because their numbers are just so close. And if Juju Watkins goes off, or any of the role players for either team could swing this game. If Gardner gets hot from the 3-point line, and she's been known against Arkansas, she went off and nailed 5 3-pointers. That could be the difference in this game. There were also 2 other players that did not play well in the first game for both teams. So Jaquez for UCLA, she only scored 4 points on 2 for 8 shooting. As well, Kennedy Smith for USC, she went 1 of 8 for 4 points. So I'm curious to see how they rebound in this game. In addition, with Lauren Betts, she did not have the most efficient game, so she went for 18 points on 5 of 13 shooting. I pointed out in the previous recap video, I think she is much more effective when she gets the ball on the left block, which allows her to spin to the middle and shoot with her right hand, or dish to the opposite side of the court. Like she hit Barker on a few cuts to the basket that were really nice. I think she got Jaquez as well, where when she rolls left and tries to shoot with her right hand, Marshall's able to contest that shot. She tends to hold it too long, and you get turnovers or a bad shot. The other fun thing with this game will just be watching the puzzle. Will Corey Close go super big, maybe? Duglic, Betts, and Barker across the front line with Jaquez and Rice. Would she do that as well? The counters for Gottlieb. Will she attempt to go small and have Marshall out and have Howell in and try to outshoot them a little bit and go small at times? It should be really fun that way to see how the coaches play chess with their lineups. The last big factor I can envision will be turnovers. So last time UCLA had 20 turnovers, USC had 18. Both these teams can struggle with turnovers. And with that, keep your eye on Alina Arnisalo. She's had a good season for a freshman, but she's been up and down like a freshman. Versus South Carolina, she played really well. Other times, she's turned over the ball a little bit too much, and Close has lost a bit of confidence in her. And it's pretty clear she's going with London Jones, which makes sense when you look at their on-off numbers. So Arnicello in conference play has been -21 versus London Jones, who's +7. USC also has an interesting situation at point guard. So Samuel seems to have fallen out of favor. If you look over the full season, she was +10, and her defense is better than Heckel at -7.5 when she's on the floor versus Heckel at +3. But when they went into conference play, Gottlieb went away from Samuels and definitely favored Heckel. As in conference play, Samuels didn't even register. Her minutes were so few versus Heckel, who's +7.9. But again, you see that she struggles on the defensive end. So their USC with her on the court gives up 7.2 more points, and the field goal shooting percentage of their opponents is slightly higher, and opponents rebound better with her off the court or on the court. So that's a curious decision. But again, the supporting cast, you can look at the on-offs if you'd like. The other one that's interesting I find for USC is Talia Van Oelhoffen is -7.2 and Marshall is -16.8. I've always wondered if that's a good option to have Marshall and Arieffin on the court at the same time. Sometimes I wonder if they would be better off just going with Howell and letting her learn on the job. But I mean, it can be argued either way. By going with Marshall the whole season, I guess it sets them better to match up against UCLA, and that might be the reason Gottlieb's done that. So if I'm making a pick, I'm going with UCLA because they're at home, but I wouldn't feel confident about it. I could see Juju going off, or somebody else even going off. Kennedy Smith having a game, or even Arieffin, or even Akinwafu seemed to match up well against Betts in the last game. She had the highest plus-minus versus UCLA in the last matchup at +16, which is even better than Juju, who was +7. Anyway, Yeah, I'd say UCLA. That's my pick, but I wouldn't be confident with it and definitely wouldn't bet the college fund on it. I look forward to this game. I just think the matchups are going to be great. And who knows, maybe we'll get a third matchup in the Big Ten Conference tournament. So either way, I hope you enjoy the game. Your thoughts, your comments, your poison. And yes, if I'm wrong on my pick, be sure to come back to the comments and crush me on it. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night.